The U.S. Postal Service delivering bad news today. It estimates $238 billion in losses over the next 10 years, and it also plans to ask Congress to cut mail delivery to 5 days a week from 6. We asked you whether you think the post office should cut back on its days of service, and in our totally unscientific but certainly indicative poll, a plurality says, actually a majority says, 54% says make it 5 days, 21% say keep it 6, less than 5, maybe go a couple of days a week, 16%, that's about what, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. And only 9% say close it, basically make it private. Joining us with their thoughts on whether the USPS is even worth fighting for in this digital age, Keith Boykin, editor of The Daily Voice, as well as a CNBC contributor, and Tad DeHaven, a budget analyst with the Cato Institute. Welcome to you both, Mr. DeHaven. Is privatizing the public, the Postal Service the way to go?
Well, right now, the U.S. Postal Service has 3 problems. The first problem is that people aren't using it very much anymore. Mail volume won't return to pre-recession levels. We have the internet, we have online bill pay, we have texting. So that's the first problem. The second problem is the U.S. Postal Service is weighed down by excessive labor costs. The Government Accountability Office said last year that the average compensation from postal employees is $83,000. Even though the post office has moved to greater automation, 80% of its cost structure still consists of labor costs.
And so real quick, little third point real quick.
What's that?
The third point very quickly.
The third point is it's subject to congressional meddling. It doesn't make sense for a stamp to be priced at 44 cents, so you send it down the street, it costs the same as it sends to
Yeah, Keith, that is a big part of the problem, right? They actually don't get any taxpayer money, but they are subject to Congress kind of running their business, right? They can't, when things change, Keith, they can't do anything about it because they have to bend to congressional rules.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I agree with Ted on his first and third points. Definitely we have a problem with congressional meddling. I think that's what's going on right now. They have an 80% pre-funding of the retirement program requirement for the Postal Service, which is higher than any other, quasi-governmental entity, which means that they're basically spending an enormous amount of money trying to pay for retirement benefits for people who are way down the road, and that's putting them in the red. If they didn't have that 80% requirement, they wouldn't be in the red right now. They would actually be in the black.
Keith, what about privatizing it, though? I mean, the McKinsey study indicated that perhaps privatizing it wouldn't work because the business model is so bad. Do you agree with that, or do you think privatization is a way that might actually work?
Well, 2 problems with the privatization. First is, who's going to buy it? Nobody wants to run the Postal Service. It's a very inefficient business model. It's an 18th century model. It's trying to work in the 21st century economy for exactly the reasons that Tad pointed out. But the other problem with privatization is that it's really a misleading debate. The Postal Service is actually fairly efficient in doing what it does under the restrictions that it has. It actually, according to the Postal Service Postmaster General, they're now producing, or able to process 70 people, what used to be done with 70 people 10 years ago, now they can do with 2 people.
I think the Postal Service is kind of miraculous in the way that they can reach every address and process the amount of tonnage that they do. But why not, Tad, clean up the business model, strip out the things that aren't working, strip out the mandates, and once it is cleaned up, sell it off?
Well, before we even get to privatization, let's just simply end the government monopoly on mail. That's part of the problem. See, today the Postmaster General said in order to cut costs, let's go to 5 days a week. Maybe it'll take a couple extra days longer to get your mail. I say do what the Europeans have done, those wonderfully progressive Europeans, and open it up for competition.
Where's the monopoly here? I mean, I can go to a private delivery service anytime I want and send a letter via UPS or FedEx.
Not for 44 cents. The government has a monopoly on first class and third class mail. Private operators cannot go near or touch.
But that's a pricing question as much as anything. That means they're mispricing their service, doesn't it?
Exactly, and that's the whole idea.
Exactly.
Well, that's another point here, but it's not a monopoly point.
Nobody wants to do this. It's like buying into a newspaper in 2010. Nobody wants to buy a postal service because it's not efficient. There's not money to be made from this. I mean, it's doing as well as it can under the circumstances. But it's not going to be able to go far in the 21st century economy.
Keith is right, and that's why you need to subject it to competition. Then we'll figure out what people want, and the market can provide for people. This insane model.
It's already isn't it already subject to
competition? There is absolutely monopoly on all. You are not allowed to use those mail what do we even call them anymore? When you deposit your mail,
Mailbox?
a mailbox anymore. It hasn't been to one in
like
years.
a pay phone.
You're not allowed to deliver directly to homes and a letter. You're not allowed to use the mailboxes on the street. I mean, those are prohibited, except for the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, but you know what? If people want to send something,
why does that matter? What matters here is whether I can get service to my house, and I can. Any day, by any number of services.
When was the last time anybody here sent a letter?
Actually, me.
Yesterday.
Why is it always me? Yesterday, I did. Yeah.
I try to avoid it. I try to do all my online billing paying over the internet. I send thank you notes and Christmas cards over the internet now through Hallmark.com and other places. I go out of my way not to use the Postal Service. Why should I pay for it?
Well, and that's exactly the problem. The real issue with the Postal Service is they need to clean up their offices. They need to do something to get rid of the bulletproof glass windows, have more customer-friendly staff people, and efficient machines and computers in their offices.
They've done that, but that's not going to happen until they get rid of the unions.
No, they haven't done that. They haven't done that everywhere, believe me. I live in New York City, and in New York City, they don't do that at all.
Yeah, it's a whole different experience.
Thank you very much, and I'll be sending you a greeting card by internet, Tad. Thanks very much.
Thank you.